Over the last 4 years of growing food, I've stopped following the calendar and I've started following patterns. I've been observing when it actually gets cold here on the Gold Coast, when the wind hits, when the storms come, and when the monsoon rains ruin seed harvests. And what I've learned is that February is usually the sweet spot. Some years it cools early, and those are my best years. And some years it stays hot until May, and those are the hardest ones. And this morning, 4 of the local storm chasers I follow predicted flooding rains and up to 5 days of cooler weather. So I've decided it's go time. Yesterday I experimented with some carrot seed tape and it actually worked. I've got some home safe zinnias germinating in the sprouter, and I've been to Bunnings this morning and bought mushroom compost, onion seedlings, and a couple of seed packets. It's 34 degrees today and the aircon is broken, and I've got about 3 hours this afternoon to get everything planted before the rain hits. So the question is, can I get the garden ready in time? And next episode, we can see if anything actually germinates. I am totally keen to start some seeds. I'm going to do a video on 3 different seeds that I have never been successful germinating, but we're going to keep it easy. And this is our home saved zinnia seeds. These don't have the best germination, so we're just going to put like a bunch in there. Now, because it's so hot, we are going to put plastic on the top. I think that might do. Should we go crazy? Yeah, why not? There we go. Oh, I think that was nearly all of them. Okay, because these guys seem to stay wet really well too. Now we're going to do some carrots. The carrot, I want to do a weird experiment where I wet down toilet paper. I don't want it to be paper towel because the roots can't get through paper towel, but I'm pretty sure they can do toilet paper. We're going to do this new packet of top weight, and I'm going to space them out. So I'm going to do that off camera and come back. Okay, that took about 5 minutes. I just used a bowl of water, put them in my hand and pick them up, like wet the skewer and pick them up. And I don't know if I should just make like seed tape, just put the other thing on top and wet it down, let it dry out, and then plant it direct in the soil. Should we experiment? Okay, I've decided this will be seed tape. So we're going to put the other layer on carefully. And mist it just so it sticks together, and then we let the whole thing dry, and then we're going to plant it out in the garden. Just enough I can see the seeds and it's going to stick, but I don't actually press it together, because when you press the toilet paper it actually, see, it squishes it. So I'm going to try and do this and let it dry without touching it. And it's so hot today, this should be fun. We're going to wet these properly though. Alright, so we'll do batches of the carrot. I don't know what I'm doing, I'm trying to let that dry out. And then we're going to do seed tape as well with the pansies, but no top layer. And then when you plant them out, I'm going to put cardboard on top, because apparently they like the dark, and that's where I've been going wrong. Okay, because these guys like dark, I did a heap of misting so that they're actually wet, and like some of the water will be in the grooves here. And then I'm going to put Glad wrap, and then we're going to stick it in the fridge because it's dark and cold in there. And then when it sprouts, we will put it in some soil, and fingers crossed, it will acclimate. Okay, I used a freeze bag. Let's put it in the fridge. Boom, no. Look at this doggy. He is adorable. Look at him. So cute. So we're set up on the couch. Latte's here too. Hey, cutie. We're in front of the fan. I just made something to eat. But I'm going to set up a little station right here to make the seed tape, and I'll show you how I actually do it. Dogs are comfy. And I've got everything I need. So this is the tape that I made yesterday. So it turned out awesome. As you see, it hasn't squashed all the little ripples. And actually, yesterday, I spaced them 4 ripples apart. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how I spaced them. I just guessed about how far going this way. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. They're stuck in there. And so this afternoon, we can just plop them on. I'm going to sieve the soil on top just to make sure they can definitely break through it when the time comes. And I've actually found, so that variety was top weight, which I just bought Mr. Fathergirls. And then I just found this amongst all my home save seed, which is Kuroda, and this is from Aldi. And so you get quite a lot of seeds. 750 is a normal amount of seeds. So you can see that planting seeds is very budget friendly. Plus, if you save your own seeds later, it is free. And you get thousands and thousands of seeds from your plants. Anyway, I find that the Aldi packets have really good germination. Then I have a couple of lids. So we're going to do one with water. We'll put the seeds in. We probably really only need 2 lids, but whatever. This is that top weight. And we've got our skewer. And this is just a tray. Oh, so we're going to put the toilet paper straight onto a towel. So yesterday I had to take it out of the seed sprouter because it stayed wet. And if I line them all up on a towel, then it's going to dry quicker. So by the afternoon I had seed tape. But I also, when I put it in this plastic, I left that open just in case there was any moisture. I also don't know that I would prepare these too far in advance because you have wet them a little bit, but it's only a light misting. So that reminds me, I've got to go get the little mister bottle. And those bottles are actually travel, the little travel packs that you can get from Kmart. That's a little bottle from there. This entire clip is 8 minutes long. So what I'm going to do is prepare everything by taking off individual squares and moistening them down. Now, interestingly enough, the squares dried out by the time I had finished because I'm sitting in front of the fan. But that's a good thing anyway. I put on a show to watch. I was watching Self-Sufficient Me, of course, a fellow Australian. And I just used the water and the tip of my skewer, or you can use a toothpick. I normally do use a toothpick, but I can't find them. And I spaced that first row, the 4 ripples apart, and then I just guessed the rest, really. We got a lot of seeds on here. Let me count how many we've got. It's somewhere around 40 seeds per square of paper. I think that's going to be okay because as they grow, we can just take every other one out. I think that's going to be a lot easier to thin than if they were in just a big bunch. And then that's it. You pop the second square on top, moisten it down, and we wait for everything to dry. I've had my poppy seeds in the fridge for nearly 2 weeks. And we're going to try them. Now, I am going to put a piece on top. And we'll just see if it works. I think toilet paper is thin enough that they're going to be able to get through it and have enough light. So this is my home save seed. It is teeny, teeny, tiny. This is how much I got. Like, I got so much. I pretty much just used a pinch. And there's a lot of seeds there. So we'll keep experimenting. I've also done some beetroot, but I'll show you that when we plant them. Okay, I've also really wet it and really pressed it down. These areas here are like little air bubbles, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So we'll let that dry, and when we plant it, we'll just sprinkle the tiniest bit of soil on top so that it just stays on the ground, but not really covering it up. The first thing we need to do is get all of this mushroom compost onto the beds. Ideally, I would have liked to have waited just a little bit longer before I had to do all this planting and probably like do another layer of lawn clippings. But because it hadn't rained, the lawn is crusty and I couldn't mow it. And, 4 days of rain is just the ideal time to get this stuff in because it's cooler and it gives everything time to germinate. So we're just going to have to do it this way. And I thought the 4 bags would have got me a little bit further. This took about 1 and a little bit bags to do. And I filled it up very, very close to the top of the gutter guard. I also wanted to do some work before I planted everything on putting like bird netting around. You'll see I've done that in one of the gardens, and that's just to stop the dogs from walking on everything. You see Dave walk on top of the beds a few times, but he is only doing that to walk around me. So usually these gutter guard beds are high enough that he will walk along them, but he likes to chase the lizards, so he will, dig around in the garden. So I think as soon as it stops raining, we'll have to go and do that little job too. So I'm just methodically working my way down the aisles. This is how I'll be planting as well. I'm just putting the mushroom compost on top of the green waste, squishing it all down. As I do that, because this is kind of the final, layer on the gardens, I'm making sure that those edges are straight as well. So putting extra pins in the edges to hold them up and make sure everything's nice and neat. Also, just quietly, that pansy seedling that I'm saving, I have a feeling that that's actually a weed. So, but I can't bear to pull it out in case it is a pansy. So, yeah, it's staying there for now, but possibly. I think the whole process of putting all the bags of compost onto the beds took about an hour, so it didn't actually take that long. But because it's so hot, it was a bit of a task. But the thing is, like, you really just need to plant once, and then after that, we're just watering. And I don't normally direct sow. I always do seedlings just in case the seeds don't come up. I have found that when I direct sow, the ants will walk off, or either walk off with the seed or they'll replant it somewhere that I didn't want it. And as I said at the start, I like everything neatly put in and planted and, all the things in a row. And so when the ants just take it away or plant it somewhere I didn't want it, not happy Jan. So I'm hoping that this seed tape stops the ants from carrying the seeds away. And so this will be one of the first years that I've actually direct sown. And we just need to plant the brassica seedlings. So we will put them into seed trays, hopefully while it's still raining as well. If we get some breaks in the rain, then we'll get that ready. But we're actually going to make room for them or save their spaces, which you'll see very soon. And we'll be doing this by using the square foot gardening spacing. So I use a no dig method, which is like this lasagna type bed. We're not digging into the soil. I did pull out some weeds through their roots, but otherwise it's pretty much no dig. And now that I've got all that soil down, that was the 4 bags of soil. We only got the 3 beds done, but that's enough for what I want to plant. We're going to give it a little watering. Even though we know it's going to rain, it just needs a little watering to get it through. Starting to get a few clouds roll on in. That must be out to the west, that way. So we're going to put our brown onions into this bed because it gets full sun, and it's going to tell us where we're going to plant our other plants. And I'm using a square foot. Well, it's 12.5 inches. And the onions are going to be our little border to tell us where each square foot is. So on the ends, we leave space for flowers, and we're going to put the poppy flowers there. And then I just measured like 2 inches, and I'm spacing, I actually put 10 in here. So it's like 5 holes and 2 lots of 5. I always like to do 2 rows. I think the onions are really good for these little borders because they deter pests with their smell. So I always do it like that, and I always mix in alyssum, which is going to go on the edges. So in the middle of those square feet that I'm leaving in between is going to be our brassicas, which will be sugarloaf cabbage and purple cauliflower. I like the purple cauliflower because when you cook it, it either stays a little bit purple or it goes completely white, whereas the white ones can brown in the garden bed. I'm also only planting the seedlings that have the bigger bulbs, and I'm putting the very small seedlings into another little pile. I'm going to put them somewhere else. I just think it's good to have the biggest ones that we can so that they've got the best chance to bulb up. I'm also cutting their tips off. I often do trim my leeks during the season, but I saw something about trimming onions too, and apparently that helps them to get more, work on the bulbs a little bit more than the leaves. So we'll give it a go. The planting process also really just does not take very long. We were probably, 15, 20 minutes, at most half an hour planting this bed out. And as I said, once it's done, it's done. You just got to look after it by watering it. And yeah, hopefully nothing comes and eats things. Planting out is definitely one of my favorite things to do. I just find it so relaxing. It did get a little tight in between the aisles here, and I did have a little cut to my leg from the gutter guard, but I didn't notice at the time, and honestly, it's just a little scratch. Here's a nice close-up of me planting. Make sure we tuck the little roots in and have them standing up, and a little trim afterwards. You get so many seedlings in a punnet for onions. It's totally worth it. I think these were about $5 per punnet, and we're going to get the whole garden planted. Now on the very end here, I used my tiny seedlings and I stood them all up in a row together and buried them in that way. Okay, I gave all that a water, and on the ends we're going to have the flowers. So we've got all our seed tape here, and I've got one on top so it doesn't blow away. And this is our poppies. So I also got a little bit of seed raising mix to sprinkle on top so it doesn't blow away. So I think we could probably fit 2 sheets there. So let's give it a go. I don't know if it's going to be clunky with gloves on. And some of my sheets started separating, and it was very sad. Whoop, oop, 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 oop. I want you to stick there. Stick. One. You can see him in there. How cool's that? And one there. I'll just do a tiny sprinkle. And then wet it down again, just so they don't blow away. And hopefully with the rain keeping it wet, they'll, moosh into the soil over the next few days. Okay, and then let's go do the other end. Alright, we'll put just, we could probably even fit 3 here. Maybe we'll do 2. 1, 2. And then we can fit another brassica in here. So let's do that. These bigger ones are the Californian poppy. Oh yeah, see, I lost some of them because they fell out. So some of them separated, I don't know why. There we go, then there's little ones. So we'll do the 2 Californian here. Put that on top so it doesn't blow away. We'll do a sprinkle, sprinkle. And then we shall water. The birds around. I've got my hose clipped up here. Whoop. Okay. And the other end. Alrighty. And then we're going to put beetroot and carrot in the tunnel. So the beetroot and carrot can be buried completely, and we'll pop them maybe here because we're going to sprinkle alyssum all the way down here, and then that will spill out. So yeah, about here. I think this one's carrot. Imagine if we get the poppies and the carrots wrong. Pretty sure this is carrot. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so these were separating and it was falling out. Let's put it there on top, and then we'll put the seed raising. We can cover the whole thing. Right, here's our beetroot, which also kept falling out. I don't think we'll do one here because there's a strawberry there. Might go here. Be careful, please don't fall out. And we'll just place it in the middle here. And these are those stripy pink beetroot. So I'm very excited. I prefer the fancy beetroots over the red ones. I think they just taste a bit better. This is the alyssum we'll be using. It's called Aphrodite, Mr. Fothergill's. You don't always see like the nice pink bits, and you don't get many seeds. This is all you get. And I find these do really well with direct sowing and sprinkling on top. I really love putting them on edges. You can, and you probably have seen me a little bit, just like trim them and chop into them, and they keep coming back. They last the whole season. I just love alyssum, and they are easy to save the seed. Because that seed only did a tiny little bit, we're going to use this pastel carpet. Again, you don't seem to get a lot of the alternative colors coming through, but you get so many more seeds. Look how many more seeds we got. And then as I was tapping them, like a lot came out. So anyway, this did the other half of the tunnel. Look at this. There's just so many. But you know what? Once they sprout into seedlings, we can actually just transplant them around the place. So that's going to be totally fine. Don't worry about it. And that's it. We got everything planted. I didn't do the spring onion because I didn't have enough mushroom compost to do that next bed, the one that's got the gomphrena in it. But I mean, we got a lot of stuff planted. I really love the seed tape idea. I think that's, if this works, it's going to be epic. And here is the storm coming. We've just got to leave everything up to the weather now and see what happens. Let's hope that this cooler weather and all the rain is going to be awesome and not everything flooded and not seeds washed away. But I'm pretty confident because in the past the aisles have worked as swales, which means that the aisles flood and then they just absorb back into the bed. See you next episode.